what I saw was that, you know, I really had a lot of responsibility. Growing up, I was the second oldest of 7 kids. And there being like 6 years in between me and my older sister, and then 6 years in between me and my younger brother, and then there was 5 kids that were younger than me. So I had a lot of responsibility growing up, and I was always looked up to, so I was used to that. And then I ended up going into coaching, and it was fantastic. 17 years coaching, and it was something that I had pretty much perfected. Not saying that there was no room for improvement, because there's always room for improvement, but I kind of had, it's a different type of leadership when you're running a program and you're at the head versus running a business. So like when you're a coach, you're more of, I mean, I hate to say it, but you're kind of like a dictator. You know, you're setting the standards, and yes, you take into consideration, you know, like what your assistants are, you know, and what they have to say, and when it comes to rules and how you're running your program and things like that. And you also take into consideration your players and how each one of them has different personalities. But it's a completely different, I don't want to say beast, but kind of beast from USANA and being a business owner. And so I really had to kind of go through and look at changing my leadership style, because it was very, very different. I did have that team mentality, and it was, you know, just like growing a team when it comes from, okay, my slides are not going. Okay, let's see if we can get this going. Sorry, you guys. My computer is frozen. There we go. Okay, so starting my business, you know, of course, Sarah was a coach. I'm looking for like no excuses. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it from Tom, Dick, or Harry why they couldn't come to an event. I don't want to hear whether or not there are excuses on why they're not setting appointments. I don't want to hear why they didn't have time. And so, like I said, I had to really start evaluating, you know, what kind of leader am I going to be within this organization? Because we lead entrepreneurs, okay? We lead adults. It's not kids. So it's a big shift for me. And it took time, and it's taken a lot of time. You know, I started my business about 4.5 years ago, and it's been incredible, the journey, but I really had to be open and honest with myself and look at, you know, how am I going to change myself? Because one of the things that I knew as a leader, you know, starting my own business or in anything that you do, if you're shifting and starting something new, you know, you have to be willing to, you know, do something new. And you have to learn how to grow yourself. Okay, so my computer just shut down. Let me see what's going on here, you guys. There we go. Okay, so leaders know how to grow. So it doesn't matter, like, you know, if you're in the professional world and maybe you're a manager at a corporation, or you're a manager at a fast food restaurant, or whatever it is, you know, maybe you're military, you still have to have that mentality of growing yourself. You have to think outside the box. And when I say the box, it's really your box, because you are the only one that sets up your limitations on your 4 walls, your ceiling, and the floor beneath you. So if you want to be able to grow, you have to realize that you're going to have to do things differently. And for me, coaching, that was comfortable for me. You know, working with kids, that was comfortable for me. The emotional, the adrenaline, you know, all those things were amazing, and I loved it. But being a business owner was very uncomfortable for me, because it was just different, and I was encountering different types of obstacles than what I was used to. But I made a commitment to myself, and leaders know that they have to make a commitment. My commitment wasn't to Brian Volke. My commitment wasn't to Cindy Audius, who is pretty much my mentor and my coach within USANA. But it was a commitment to myself. So when they told me there were things that I needed to do, that I needed to expand and I needed to grow, then I knew that those were things that I was going to have to be willing to do, because I wanted something different in my life. I didn't want my life to stay the same. I didn't want to live paycheck to paycheck. I didn't want to have limitations. I had hope. USANA brought hope to me. Starting my own business brought hope to me that I could create a better life for myself and for my family. And that was the underlying thing was that commitment. So when I knew that I had to make that commitment, it was to grow as a person. It was to challenge myself, even when I didn't want to. And there was different times that, it was difficult for me. I know that there you go. I was disappointed and frustrated. Many times I was disappointed and frustrated with, people making excuses, or, people taking breaks, or they didn't have time, or, whatever the case may be. And what I realized is that it was my job to meet them halfway. And that there were certain points that, I wanted it more for them than they wanted it for themselves. And so when I had encountered the same obstacles that they did, they didn't have that level of commitment to themselves and to their why and to their dreams that I did. And that's why I continued to push through. I pushed through and I found a way to make things happen. So I knew that, disappointment and frustration was something that, everybody deals with. And how you deal with it when you hit that low, you have to be smart enough to know that you don't want to stay there, and you have to be smart enough to know that you're going to get through it. Because like with everything that you encounter, it's only going to make you stronger. It's going to give you another learning experience. It's going to add that next layer of commitment to yourself and to your business so that you won't ever quit. So those were some different things that I had to go through. And during those lows, I've said this before, there was a few times that quitting did come into my mind. And it's not that people never think about quitting, or that, a one-star or Brian or anybody, that there's never been points where they thought about quitting. It's just that they chose not to. And then it's when you choose not to, when you continue to choose to push through and get to that next level, that's the only way for you to get to that next level, is by encountering that, going through it. So what I've learned through disappointments is that leaders, have to be intelligent followers. And I did have some carryover on, my focus from being a coach and, leading by example and things like that. But I knew that in the books that I was reading, the things that I was learning as I went through different things, that leaders were, again, they were intelligent followers. And Napoleon Hill said that. And so when that happened, when I read that, when I saw that, I knew that, hey, this was key. I am having some technical difficulties, just so you guys know. I'm sure you guys can tell because you can't see my PowerPoint here. But the next slide is basically says that, it has, it talks about leaders being intelligent followers. So then the next part of it is being an intelligent follower means that you're progressing, you're growing, and it's like becoming a child all over again. Or if I use a coaching analogy, it's, kind of like being, going up to a coach and saying, hey, I want to do this sport, and I want to play this sport. I want to try something new. I like the way this looks, and I'm willing to do the due diligence. But you have to know how to follow, and you have to be willing to be a follower. Even now, I'm constantly listening to people that are where I want to be, because that's the only way that I'm going to get there, because they've been there and they've done that. And there were times in the beginning of my business that I thought, man, why aren't they doing better? Like, why aren't they making more money, or yada, yada, yada. And it wasn't until I started experiencing, all these different highs and lows, and learning and recognizing the fact that I really had to develop myself. Things weren't always going to be super easy. So I had to start asking myself, like, who am I spending my time with? Like, what am I spending my time doing? Is what I'm spending my time doing, is that indicative of what my leaders are doing, the people that I'm following? Are they doing something different? What do I need to do? So I had to start asking myself, like, where are my influences? Who's coming in this ear? Who's coming in this ear? What am I seeing on the TV? When I'm driving, what am I listening to? Now, I'm not saying all this that you don't want, you want to be productive and you do want to have entertainment, but I knew that my entertainment was going to be a lot smaller than what I was doing as far as investing in myself, where I was spending my time with, who I was spending my time with, things like that. One thing that I read about from John C. Maxwell is he says that leaders develop daily, not in a day. So recognizing that you have to know who your influencers are, and you have to recognize the fact that it's going to take daily work for you to get to where you want to go. Because let's face it, if you're going to have a business, you're going to build an organization, you've got to have followers. You've got to have people on your team that you're helping. And everybody can lead in different ways, but it's still critical for you to develop yourself so that you can meet and support those people. So influencers are huge, okay? So what are you doing daily with your time? Are you spending your time watching TV? Are you spending your time jamming out the music? What are you spending your time doing? And the next thing is that I really kept hearing was that leaders invest in themselves, right? They invest in it. You see, there's a lot of books there. And I started reading a lot. And I have to tell you guys, I graduated, I got a master's. I got a bachelor's and a master's. And I got a bachelor's from Trinity University out of San Antonio, Texas, which has been labeled the Harvard of the South. And I'm not tooting my own horn. I'm just saying that I went through that school and I hated to read. So I read as little as possible. But what I learned, when I started my business is that, hey, I really, really wanted to grow. And my leaders kept saying, successful people read, leaders read, successful people attend events, leaders attend events. So I knew that I couldn't sit there and expect other people to do something that I wasn't willing to do. So I started reading. I knew that I was worth it. And that's one of the key things that you have to think about is that you are worth it. Your dreams are worth pursuing. You are worth investing, into buying great products for your health. You are worth investing into developing yourself as a person so that you can help others develop. And that is critical that you understand that and that I understand that. When I first was approached with going to a Clemmer seminar, looking at the cost of the money, I was like, yes, I wanted to go so bad. And I was like, but God, it's so expensive. And I thought to myself, as time has gone by, I thought, man, okay, what, it's $500 to go do this? And it could change my life, but I'll spend $500 a month on a car payment or whatever so that I can drive to work, to a job that I didn't even want anymore at that point. So I started to have to realize, hey, Gina, I need some checks and balances. And my mentor was great. And so I'm going to really encourage you guys that if you're new, that you spend that time calling your coach, calling your mentor, because that is when they will help you overcome those obstacles. And that's what leaders do. So becoming a leader also takes a lot of time. It's not something that happens overnight, unfortunately. I wanted it. And but there was things that I knew that if you look at this picture, you have to assess and apply. And assessing and applying takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. I was out pulling my weeds, sidebar story that kind of goes along with this, because I was really excited when I was doing it. But I was outside pulling weeds, and I thought, man, it's not that many weeds. I'm just going to get out there, I was doing it and whatnot. And then I realized, my God, there was a lot of weeds. And it's not like you could just mow over them, because if you mow over them, they're still there. They're still going to grow, right? They're still ugly. You know that they're there, okay? And that's the biggest point, is that you know that they're there. So leaders will constantly be assessing themselves, taking in good information from people that can help them. And then they're constantly assessing themselves and maybe asking a good mentor, like Cindy and Brian have been great for me, and helping assess. Cindy's like, brutally truthful sometimes. And at first, there were times when we were first, became friends, or she was my mentor, and we became really good friends that, it took time. But I knew when she told me something, even though there was a little bit that hurt, I knew she was doing it because she cared about me. And so you have to understand that, leaders truly do care about you. If you're somebody that's new, they've already been where you've been. They've walked where you've walked. And so they're going to help you and guide you and inspire you and support you. And then in turn, it's your turn to do the same thing for the people that you care about and the people that you take on to mentor. So looking at those weeds, when you start really just like looking at yourself and the habits that you have and beliefs that you have that are limiting you and things like that, and you start pulling them, you got to pull them out at the root. And it's really not a lot of fun, but it's worth it. Because once you get those weeds gone, they're gone. Now, of course, there might be another one that might poke its head up every once in a while, unfortunately, but we're human beings. We're not perfect. But it's a journey, right, not a destination. We hear that all the time. So you have to constantly be willing to assess and apply. So let me see if I can get to the next slide here. Becoming a leader, again, takes time, and I said that earlier, but your timeline is determined by you. And what I always focus on is, what Gandhi says is, you have to be the change that you want to see in the world. I have to be the person that the people in my organization that they can look up to. I have to be that person. I can't put expectations on why aren't they doing this and why aren't they doing that when I don't want to do it or I'm not doing it. And sometimes I got to make myself as a leader do things that I don't want to do. But it's necessary. There's a purpose behind it. So it's important for you to understand that you do determine your timeline, but it does take time. There's no overnight wake up and you're, in the $1 million club. In any business, it doesn't matter. It starts at the ground level. You start off in your garage by yourself and maybe with a friend, which is probably your sponsor or your coach. And then slowly it begins to grow. But the cool thing is that how fast you're willing to work on yourself and how hard you're willing to work on yourself is going to determine how fast you advance and how big your organization becomes. So that's huge. So be that change. Leaders know that. Leaders know that it's going to take time, that it's not going to be, you're not going to be an overnight success. It takes time to develop. So the next thing is that leaders do have balance. And if you look at this picture, I was actually speaking at a business fraternity banquet the other night at my alma mater, Trinity, this past Saturday, which was really cool, by the way. But I was talking to a guy who was telling me that he had stopped playing football and he's really focusing on business and international business and whatnot. And so we're talking about these different poses. And so when I showed him a picture of this, because he was describing a certain pose that he was learning how to do, and I showed him this, and he said, wow, that takes years to develop the strength and the balance to do that. And it made me start to think, I thought, wow, leaders maintain a balance, but it's not overnight, you guys. I'm still not balanced. Okay, I am completely real and honest. I am still not where I need to be, not even close. But I know that I am continuing to make those steps, and I'm committed to progress. I'm committed to myself. I'm committed to my team. But it also has to be a commitment to balance, because leaders are able to maintain balance, and that is crucial in anything that you do. You have to be willing to, that balance of growing yourself and growing other people. So it's, keeping that balance is not always the easiest thing, but it's definitely worth it in the end. So I was listening to a USANA leader the other night, and she's doing these really cool teleconferences. And so one of the people that she was interviewing, they were talking about how this girl is writing a book with her father, And so she said that her father is constantly very, very well known, and he's constantly getting, people that will write him and send him their books and saying, I'm the next so-and-so, like him. And what she said, really, hit me was, we don't need another Jordan Kipper. We don't need another Brian Bulke. We don't need another Gina Hunter. We need you, because you're unique. You're special. You bring diversity, something different that nobody else can bring. And that, to me, is just amazing, that every single one of us have something different to offer. Offer USANA, offer the world, offer your Facebook friends and family. So you can't get caught up in this comparison hangover to where you're constantly comparing yourself with other people. It's important to know and find what fits for you, because you're going to be emerging as a leader. So what fits your style? Another one that I was listening to the other day, she said, for her, it's been a constant change. At first she said, okay, I'm doing 30, 60, 90-day goals, blah, 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 blah. And then she said, I realized that it just didn't work for me. I couldn't get myself to do it. So she found something that worked for her, which was 3 goals. 3 goals for 3 months, or whatever it was. But she made a modification. So it's really important to know as a leader that sometimes you got to modify the information that you're getting. You got to ingest it. You got to take it in. You got to spend time with it. You got to chew on it. And then you've got to go full circle and then mold it and apply it and get it into, who you are and what you want to create, what feels good for you. And that's one of the most key and critical things in being a leader, is developing your own style and who you are, because that's what is going to attract people to you. You don't want to be somebody that you're not, because then that's going to come off as fake. Nobody wants to follow a poser, okay? We want to follow somebody that is real, that is themselves. I want to follow Brian Bulke, okay? He's my leader. I want to follow Cindy Arias. She's my leader. And I like to follow them for their specific strengths, okay? So find what fits for you. Okay. Another thing is, really getting to your core values and knowing who you are and what you stand for, and in any given situation, what are you going to do? Because a lot of people say that they have certain core values, but then you see their actions and they're in opposition. So actions will actually tell you what somebody's core values are. And sometimes it can be, an eye-opener if you start actually stepping outside yourself and evaluating yourself and looking at your own actions, okay? It's not always easy to be honest with yourself, but it's very necessary to be honest with yourself. That's the only way true progress happens, is if you're honest with yourself, right? So we're very fortunate in the fact that we have partnered with a company, and I think that the reason why USANA attracts such amazing people is because of the core values. I mean, look at them, you guys. Excellence, integrity, health, community. Those are awesome core values. I don't even know how you could get any better than that. But to be a part of an organization, to be part of a community of people that embraces excellence, that embraces integrity, that embraces health. I mean, how blessed are we that this opportunity presented itself? You have to be willing as a leader to pay it forward, to have that backbone, to go out and talk to people. I never feel like when I talk to somebody that I'm trying to take something away from them. I feel like I'm trying to give something to them, because USANA has been a light at the end of the tunnel for me. As a teacher and as a coach, I knew I was going to be struggling if I was ever going to retire. And what USANA gave to me was flexibility. It gave me freedom. It gave me a way to where I could work hard and I could get paid hard. And I love that. I want to work hard. I want to get paid hard. And I want to attract people that are like me in that sense. But I want people that have integrity. I want to be a part of a community of people that are just amazing. And if you read our blog, if you don't read that, you need to sign up for it and subscribe to it, because it is phenomenal. The information that you get from that, and the people, the stories, they're so inspirational. We are a company of leaders. That's what we are. And how phenomenal is that? It's just amazing. So make sure that you're thinking about your actions, and be honest with yourself. Hey, if your actions aren't showing that you're committed to your business because you're not showing up to events, you're not doing presentations, you're not doing the basics, then hey, do something about it. Don't get down in the dumps. Just make that next step. Start doing something about it. And that's going to be one of the key things. So leaders definitely have core values. So the next thing is that, if you look at, Martin Luther King, I mean, who else epitomizes inspiration? A forward thinker, somebody who had courage to step out, to go against the grain, who gave up his life for a purpose because he knew that what he was doing was greater than himself and that it was meaningful. And what we do is meaningful. It has purpose. We have the power to change people's lives, to give them hope, to help them grow, to knock down barriers, to bust through limitations. What else could you ask for? Leaders know, be inspired. Inspire others. Don't judge others. Inspire them. Support them. Help them. And it always comes from the heart, you guys. It's always from the heart. If you lead with your heart, your soul, your spirit, your mind will all come, into play. And people will know that you really care about them. And the one thing I'll tell you that I've spent some time thinking about is if you really want to build an organization, you want to build a solid business, you have to have a heart. You have to care about people. Because otherwise you're just sponsoring people left and right and they're dropping off left and right. And that's not really going to pay you in the long run. So if you really want to be successful, you have to build people. You have to build relationships, okay? Organizations, don't make people, it's people that make organizations. That's just the way that it is. We, the people of USANA, make USANA. And that's from corporate, that's from the distributors, that's everybody together. We, the people, are USANA. That is the way that it is. So I'm going to encourage you is that you have to really care about people. People know if you don't care. People know if you're just about yourself. You have to be willing to take that time to get to know them. And I have to be honest, I've fallen short because there's a lot of times that, you think, I'm going to go to the movie, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Well, do it with the people that are on your team. Take the time. Find out what's going on with them. Be there for them. Have a heart. Know their why. Know what gets them up every morning, what moves them. Know why they started the business, and then make sure that you help support them so that they can accomplish that. The next thing that leaders are about, of course, it's just a definite, is that leaders are focused on finding solutions. You have to be solution-oriented. And I have to say, that was one big thing that I really needed help on. And still to this day, I'll have conversations with Cindy, and she'll be like, okay, I'll present an obstacle, and she'll be like, okay, what's the solution? So it's like, like even myself, you guys, I'm telling you, I'm nowhere near where I need to be or where I want to be, but I'm committed and determined to get there. And, just knowing that there's always, that old saying, where there's a will, there's a way. Finding solutions for people. Now, with 5-Star Health, we really like to focus on 5 different things. Obviously, 5-Star Health. But it's finding, helping support people in their health, whether it be finances, spiritual, emotional, physical, mindset. We feel like those 5 areas, if we really focus and we try to help support people in those areas, then they're going to be balanced. They're going to find that balance. They're going to be successful. So be solution-oriented. It's critical if you want to be successful as a business owner, as a leader. You have to be solution-oriented. You cannot get stuck. You cannot get stuck. You cannot allow, you just do not even allow yourself to be stuck, okay? It's just not acceptable, okay? And so when you feel like you're stuck, what do you need to do? Pick up your phone. Hello. Call your mentor. Call someone. Don't call somebody that's going to feed into your, I don't want to say it. I was going to say BS. Oh, I didn't say that. But don't call people that are going to feel sorry for you and pat you on the back and say, oh, yeah, that's a good excuse. Yeah, that doesn't work, blah, blah, blah. Don't call those people. Call somebody that's going to inspire you to get past it, to figure out a solution. That's what a leader does. They help you find solutions. But you know what? It still has to originate from you. What do you want? Do you want to be stuck, or do you want to keep going? Do you want to be stuck, or do you want to keep going? It's your choice, right? It's all about choices. It's up to you. So finding solutions, that's critical. The last thing really that I want to focus on is that in this world, there's a lot of darkness. There's a lot of people that are struggling. There's a lot of people that are hurting. There's a lot of people that are settling. There's a lot of people that are lost. They're struggling. And sometimes you just need to be a light. Sometimes you need to smile, So bust out that smile. Show those pearly whites. Pat somebody on the back. See something nice to somebody. I told my son the other day we're driving home, and he said to me, he was like, I don't have any friends. And I said, what? You don't have any friends? And then he said, well, I have my one friend Colin. And I was like, oh, okay. And by the way, he's sick. But he said, well, I have my one friend Colin. And I was like, all right, well, and he said, but Colin's not as fast as I am. And I was like, oh, I was like, grace on will and grace. Oh. I was like, oh my gosh. So I started telling him, I was like, hey, that's a big indicator that for me, I need to make sure that he understands that he needs to be pointing out people's strengths, not their weaknesses. Because nobody wants to be around somebody that's pointing out what they're doing wrong all the time. So a leader is a light. A leader is somebody that's going to inspire somebody to do something, not tell them what to do. And so I've been working really hard on that myself. Trying to find a way to where I know that if there's somebody that I'm working with that maybe they're not up to where, I'd like them to be. I want them to be doing something, doing a little bit more, not for myself, but just for them, because I love them and I care about them. But I've really been focusing on how can I inspire them? How can I help be a light? So, be a light. And, Team Illuminate, that's what we are, Illumination Nation, right? We are about being a light in this world. We've got solutions for people. USANA is a fantastic opportunity for anybody to be able to help in so many different ways. So I just want you guys to know that, have a positive mental attitude. Be solution-oriented. Be an overcomer and be a light. Because that's what leaders are. They're lights. So that really concludes my talk tonight on leadership. I hope and pray that I added value to some of you guys out there, something that you can use in what you're doing. And if there's any questions, just let's start rolling with them.
Yeah, Gina, I gotta just first of all tell you, fantastic call. That was a lot of good golden nuggets there, I will tell you. And I'm gonna start off the Q&A personally because I know that this was as good of a call as this was. I think a lot of people went through, they go through a lot of stuff in their business, but they also, I know some of the things that you've had to go through in your business, and I want to kind of draw some of those things out from you specifically for some people on this call. So while I prepare this, and as I ask you these questions, if you're on the call and you do have a question, Go ahead and type it in your Q&A. If you want to raise your hand, if you do have your microphone on your computer, I can unmute you. Just raise your hand, and I'll be able to unmute you for that. You can ask the question to Gina herself. But as those questions are coming in, Gina, you did turn off your webcam, just FYI. But I want to ask you specifically, first of all, I got two questions. First of all, what has been your favorite book? You mentioned you didn't like to read, going through school, getting your master's. And obviously now you've become an avid reader. So if you could tell the audience what your favorite book is, what would you say?
Oh, wow. I think the book that I probably have gotten the most out of when I first started was Success with a Positive Mental Attitude. It's a combination of Napoleon Hill's Thinking Grow Rich, and then John Clement kind of rewrote the book with him and added some things to it. So I think it's called Success with a Positive Mental Attitude. So they talk about your PMA and NMA. And I think that really helped me a lot in the beginning, was, just really trying to focus on, my mental state. And when I was frustrated or down, that I would really try to, stay positive. So, yeah. That, and then I would say, like, recently reading John C. Maxwell's book, the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. I think that's a fantastic book. And I would say that if you haven't read that, obviously I know you've read that, but anybody else, if they haven't read it, they definitely need to read that book. So there's just so many books out there that people can, clutch onto, and you can even, like, as you read different blogs and articles and things like that, you're going to come across different different books. So, I come across one that I wanted to read, and it was talking about, how breaking bad habits or something like that. So, I'm really always trying to read so that I can grow.
Okay, so to spin off from the question on the books, the reason I asked you that is there's a big difference between, as we hear often, and as I did growing up in the USANA business, we hear leaders say you need to read. We hear leaders say that you need to teach your team to lead or to read. We hear leaders say do a book club. We hear people talk all the time about reading and the importance of getting your team to read, or being creative around reading. I want you just to spend a minute, because I've seen you grow a lot through reading. And I've also, when I hear you read a book, or I hear that you are reading a book, I see the results. Like, I see your attitude change, I see your direction change, I see your team change. It's crazy. Can you just spend a minute on, it's one thing to have the surface results or the surface reasons to read a book for your team because it's good for you, because you learn things. What has reading done to you, and specifically done to your team through you?
Well, I mean, it's completely changed my life. Like, honestly, when I kept hearing, oh, you got to read, blah, 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 I'm like, yeah, right, whatever. But then I asked myself that question, okay, well, Gina, this is what they're saying. So you say that you want to be this. So if you want to be this, then you need to do this. So I think that there's been a lot of reading, and just, it takes a long time. Like, for me, I was always really bad at starting something and not finishing it. Like, and I'm talking about reading books. And one thing that I really try to, work on is finishing books, not getting really excited and reading, half of it, but actually finishing it. And then really spending time on thinking about it, and when different things would come up in my life, or, different experiences, I would think it would make me, I would be like, all right, well, what have I read about this? Like, what have I thought about this? How could this, what have I learned from, people that have been successful? What do they do? What are, how can I approach this? And I think that it's helped because, I know that with different people on my team, we've had conversations, and then, by me reading and us having like normal conversations, and me saying, hey, well, I read this in this book. They're like, hey, well, what book is that? Do you have it? Can I borrow it? Can I read it? So I've had that happen, on several occasions. So I think that, just reading, but, you have to be really introspective. You have to think, about yourself. You have to spend that time looking deep into yourself, into your habits, into who you are, into your beliefs, and then really, deciphering how is this affecting me? How is this affecting my results? Why, because there's a reason why you're not getting the results that you want. Some of it may be a timing issue. Some of it may be, you're saying one thing but doing something else, and you might be limiting yourself. So I think that books have really helped me, and that, taking the time to really ingest it and kind of chew on it, and then it flows out naturally in situations when I have conversations with people.
Beautiful. All right, we got some good questions rolling in. So for those of y'all that have not asked questions yet, and we got a lot coming in, so I just want to remind y'all that Gina's a brand new gold, and this girl, you want to talk about being in the trenches. This girl is in the trenches right now, cranking her business. She just recently went full time, so she is having to create where creating ain't creative, and so she's got so much going on. So this is, if you guys are in a position where you're struggling, this is the type of person to ask questions to, because she is right where many of you probably have been very recently. So, all right, first question, Gina's coming in from Kenny. He says, how do you be a leader to motivate without telling people what to do or how to run the business? For example, I have a downline. They're all in and want to build the business, but all I can say to them is do a names list or share with them to plug into this type of training and start putting clients on the products, but nothing happens and they don't contact me.
Well, I've been there before. Right? And honestly, I think that it's just one of those things that you have to continue to say, hey, man, I'm here for you. I know that I know the reason why you started this business, and maybe timing is hard for you right now, but just know that I'm right here ready to help you and support you. And I think that because I know Kenny. So I know Kenny is probably a lot like me in that coach's mentality, like, don't give me your freaking excuses. You just said that you wanted to change your life, but you're not doing anything. Okay, 1 plus 1 does not equal, 3. It equals 2. So where is the 1 there, But, I think that you have to go back to right now you probably want it more than they want it. And maybe they're not seeing how they can do it. Maybe just having this conversations, hey, I have things that I have to overcome as well. How can I help you? Is there something that I can do that can help you with if you're stuck right now? We all know that, like, when we start this business, when I started the business, it was just like, oh, and then start a business and make some money. It wasn't even really focused on I'm gonna, make my health amazing or anything like that. It was like I wanted to make money. So the process through this, going through all these different steps of growing and things like that, is that you have to realize that, everybody's different. And I would encourage you, Kenny, to, assess what type of personality that person has. Something that we've learned in a lot of our trainings, are they a driver? Are they a supporter? Are they an analyst, or are they a promoter? Where do they fall, the majority of, and then meet them there, approach them and angle it in that perspective to try to help them. I have some people that are drivers in my team, some people that are supporters. So I have to approach them based on, who they are and what their personality is.
That's a good answer. He actually wrote real fast. He said, I think he agreed with you that the fact that you guys are very similar in this business. He said, big help. Okay,
Awesome.
Next question comes from James. He says, do you do more research on health, business, or both? How much time do you spend on each? It sounds like a question like, what do you personally spend more time researching on your own?
Wow. Well, I have to admit that I'm kind of an analyst type personality. We always argue, like I argue with anybody that I can that I'm not, but I really am. I like to read blogs and things like that. I like to kind of do research because I'm that type of person that I don't want to be wrong, So I do a lot of research. But I also, you have to know what's a balance, like I'm not going to be a scientist, okay? I'm not a Dr. Dixon. I'm not a Dr. McNamara. So I have to just pull information from them and use it and reference them. They're the expert, You know, obviously people, when they meet with me, they're going to know I'm not a doctor, right? So what the balance, you know, you have to find that balance. If you feel like, hey, I'm lacking in health, you know, I don't know anything about the products, then obviously you need to start learning a little bit about the products. You know, what I tell people is, you know, you want to learn about 3 things about each product, and USANA's got a great slide presentation online in USANA today that you can go to, and it gives you 3, or you can read through your product guide. Or, you know, the business part of it, you know, there's videos and things like that. But I think that if you really want to make money, you've got to know both of them, because you've got to know how to build a business, and you've got to know about products, because our business is about products. So I don't know if that helps you, but I would say keep a balance. If you're spending, look at your time, if you're spending 40 minutes a day on learning, you know, knowledge-wise or skills, then take 20 and 20, you know. And then if you start feeling like, hey, I feel like I'm getting pretty good now at the business part of it, maybe I need to spend a little bit more time on the health part of it, okay? Does that help?
That's a pretty good answer. I mean, what I'm hearing you say is this is what's more important to you and what your personality type is. Just stay focused on that, but then at the same time, make sure you have a good balance that, based on your personality type, don't get too overwhelmed with one subject. Make sure you have a good balance on both sides.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. Another question from Sean came in, says, oh, this is a good one. Oh, this is a really good one. Not that the other ones were bad. He says, when you want to give up, what specifically keeps you going?
Oh my God, is that pit in the stomach feeling like there's no freaking way I can quit, you know? It's like there's just no way. I mean, I'm not a quitter. I've never been a quitter, and I will not start being a quitter, because I know that this works. And you can't tell me that it doesn't, because people are doing it. And this is a non-discriminatory business here. We all have the same products. We all have access to the same company with the same business model. And so there's no reason to quit. If you're quitting, it's because for some reason it's just you become debilitated. And that's what I say again, if you ever get to the point to where you're stuck, don't call people that are going to pat you on the back and rub your back and make you feel better and come up with a bunch of excuses for you as to why it won't work. You need to be calling the person that you trusted, or whoever it is that, you know, is your mentor, and talk to them and say, look, man, I'm struggling here. I'm frustrated. You know, I mean, I still do that, like with Brian and Cindy when we meet. You know, like, sometimes I get down. You know, I'm a human being, for God's sake. You know, we all are. But it's like you get down, you cry a little bit, you get pissed off or whatever it is, and then you get back up and you keep going, because you know it's going to get you where you want to go. It's going to be worth it.
I could feel a little bit of the coach coming out in you right there. That was pretty awesome. But it's a good point. It's very valid. I mean, we even talked about this at our Directors and Above talk yesterday, right? There's a difference between good pain and bad pain.
Mhm.
And don't call the people that give you the bad pain. You want to call the people that give you the good pain, right?
Yeah, and you know, when you feel down, it's, you know, just recognize the fact that you're a human being. I mean, hey, it's okay to get upset every once in a while. It's okay to cry every once in a while, you know, but it's going to be worth it. If you're getting disappointed, that means you're doing something. So I say that that's pretty good. Now, if you're getting disappointed because you're not doing anything and you're stuck and you're paralyzed, then get your butt up and start doing something.
Okay, I got another question. Question comes in and says, what is your favorite USANA tool?
Well, as of late, I would say I actually have a couple, and it sounds kind of crazy, but, you know, for me, I look at press releases. You know, I deal with a lot of athletes, and, you know, we just had a fantastic press release maybe like a couple of weeks ago. I read through that stuff. Man, I sent that to my professional athletes, my coaches. I mean, I'm sending it everywhere to everybody. Anybody that's in sports, I'm sending that press release and just going, hey, look, you know, just take a look at this and then tell me what you think. You know, I love that. The athlete video is one of my favorite, because I deal with a lot of athletes. That's my niche, is athletes. And I like when I'm doing a presentation, I've been using the Health of Freedom newspaper. It's simple. I remember one year I went to convention and it was like some diamond directors that were on stage and they were like, yeah, I just used the newspaper. Well, I thought, yeah, right, whatever. I mean, I was doing like the intros, this, and then I was like, man, now that's what I use. Finally I was like, duh, this is simple, this is easy, it covers it all. That's all you need to do. And what I found is when I get to the point of the business part of it, I'm like, well, there is a business, but I'm not going to go over it. And they're like, no, go on and show me. So I like that. So I would say that those, and then I like the Athlete magazine. I usually send that, or I bring, a copy of that if I'm dealing with anybody sports related again. I'll actually give them a magazine to read. Now, whether or not they read it or not, hey, I don't know, but sometimes it's impressive. Sometimes people ask me for it. And then sometimes I tell them no. I'll email them an online version of it, just so that I keep my own copy, my hard copy. So hope that helps.
Oh, that's fantastic. All right, I got one last question for you. This is coming from me.
Okay.
It's really just open-ended because you are a freaking rock star, and what's crazy is we hear all the time that the very simple, easy excuse is I'm not good enough, or I don't possess that trait, or I don't have that skill that Gina has. She has a better personality than I do. She's spin pop. She has the ability to look at things and be happy, or whatever. What is the one last tip that you can leave this group with? Because there's some new people on this call that are brand new. What is that one thing coming from you as a goal director who's been in the business for like 3 years that, I mean, you've drastically changed your life in a very, very short period of time. In the grand scheme of things, you've done what people only dream about doing. What is that one tip that you would leave with everybody and just, this is what you want to tell them?
Well, I'm just going to say that it's possible, it's possible, and you're worth it. I mean, you can create whatever it is that you want. And then I'll just say is, please don't ever give up. There's nothing, more disappointing. And that's probably, again, been my hardest thing to get through is when I do have people that quit. That is very hard for me because being a coach, I didn't have people quit. Maybe one or two in all my years, 17, 20 years of coaching, that I have a kid quit. So with this, there's a lot more people that quit, and it's not that they're quitting on me. The sad part to me is that they're quitting on their dreams, and they're giving up. So, if I was going to say, like something to just take home and just, to really think about, is that just make a commitment to yourself that you're not going to quit. You saw it, even if you're never a diamond director or whatever, what USANA is going to give to you and what this community is going to give to you is going to be it's going to be priceless. It is priceless. What it's given to me is priceless. I was talking to one of my associates on our conference call on Sunday. I guess that was last night. And we were talking about that, and I said, Ruby, think about it. Could I have ever explained all of this? She's been an associate now for 8 months. Could I have ever explained to you everything that's happened to you, when we first met? Did you ever even think that this was going to happen? She's like, no. You can't even put into words what it's going to do for you and do for others because, even if you don't have a lot of people that jump on board on your team right away, if you stay the course and you don't give up, sooner or later, the timing will play, into it. So I would just say is that, never lose hope, never give up, and always look up to your upline, whoever it is, and call them if you're down, but don't ever give up because you're worth it, and everybody possesses different amazing qualities and talents that we need. I need to learn from you. As you emerge, I want to learn, what you have to offer, and you're going to be affecting so many different people's lives and making this world a better place. And there's nothing better than that, than, like Gandhi said, be the change that you want to see in the world. So unless you want to see quitters around you in the world, then don't quit, right?
That's right. Well, Gina, I'll tell you, that answer kind of proves it. I mean, you're a voice to be reckoned with, and I know that you're going to be putting a big dent in USANA, that's for sure. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you're going to be doing in the next few years with USANA. Congratulations on all your success. Brand new gold director over the last, well, been about 5, 6 months now. You're like well into it. On your way to Ruby, I know for sure, here soon. So thank you so much for your time, Gina. I know that you're busy and you've got a great team. I know you're doing weekly and actually quite a few trainings that you do with your team and presentations on a weekly basis in your home on the evenings. And I
Mm-hmm.
know that taking time away for something like this it's been difficult to do, but we really do appreciate your time. So with that, I want to remind everybody that coming up next Monday night, we're closing out the 8-week online boot camp with Chris Harrell, Ruby Director. I promise you right now, he's going to bring the house down. So this is going to be one of those presentations to make sure that you have all your guests on, all your prospects on, all your associates on, all your family members, and everybody else on board with this call. Go to tiwebcast.com. Make sure you pre-register for the event so that you get the reminders to log in. And then lastly, I want to remind everybody that April 26th, we have our doctor's tour coming to San Antonio. This is going to be a phenomenal event for all associates to be there. I know that all the local communities around San Antonio are already planning on driving in for this. Important to note that this will be a free event for guests. So this will be a guest-friendly event. We've got Dr. Lad McNamara, who's an Emerald Director, will be here. He loves San Antonio. He loves coming down to talk about health and nutrition, and specifically in USANA products. He's one of the best at doing that. We've got Karen, I forget her last name. It's a tough one. From Sanaviv, which is Dr. Wentz's Medical Institute in Baja, Mexico, will be here. She specializes in digestion and nutrition. I got the chance to see her in California. I promise you right now, her talks that she has are very eye-opening, and it will be well worth your time as well as your guests. And of course, we've got our very own Dr. Imran coming from Corpus Christi, now speaking for the first time on USANA's stage. Not just a local event, but this is a USANA put-on event. And I just heard just a couple days ago from corporate office that Dr. Imran is on the map for people looking for up-and-comers. So make sure that you guys promote this event. April 26th. It's not this Saturday, but the following Saturday. It'll be from 9 to 2 o'clock. Again, a complete guest-friendly event. Gina, once again, thank you so much for this evening. It was a fantastic call. You are definitely a gem in my book, and I really do appreciate you taking the time to give all your insight and all your golden nuggets to the entire Team Illuminate family. So thank you so much for that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brian.
You betcha. All right, guys, y'all have a fantastic week. Go close it out. You got 5 days to knock it out, and y'all plan on next Monday night. Chris Hall, Ruby Director. We're closing out our 8-week online boot camp. Have a fantastic evening. Bye-bye.